Hi, and welcome to the 5 Minute Travel Teacher. This episode is How Do I Choose a Cruise? My name is Dawn Kidd, and I am the owner of Kidd Travel with my husband, Mark. I've been a teacher for over 25 years with plenty of group planning experience, and I think that gives me a unique perspective. Most of all, I'm invested in the successes of those in my care. So if you book something through me, I really take joy in it. How do you choose a cruise? If you're like many people, myself included before I got into the business, I booked a cruise by looking at a list of ships, a list of itineraries, and picked one that I thought would fit my budget, which is not necessarily the way to do it. Even if you've been on cruises before, there may be more to this whole process than you're seeing. In 2020, more than 30 million people were projected to cruise, and many of those people were multiple cruises. Of course, COVID changed that, but in 2021, the number is supposed to be just as high, which might surprise you. Each week, there are literally hundreds of cruises leaving around the world. I think in most weeks, it's about 400 cruises. And if you feel overwhelmed by that, you are not alone. Choosing incorrectly, can leave you extremely frustrated. I know there was one particular cruise that I went on many years ago that the boat just did not meet my approval as some of the other ships had, and I found myself disappointed. Here's the biggest factors in choosing your cruise. The first one is location. What islands or countries do you wish to visit? And each one gives something specific. Think about the duration. You can cruise 3 days. The most popular is 7 days. There are cruises that go around the world 120 days. You also need to consider the cruise line. Each one has its own distinct personality. They're not all alike. The ship itself, even different ships amongst, say, Royal Caribbean or Carnival, they can be wildly different as well. And finally, the budget. You need to find that sweet spot between the things that you want, your desires, and what your wallet is screaming for. So let's talk about where cruises exist. Literally over the entire globe. You can cruise to Antarctica. You can cruise on the Danube River. You can cruise to Mexico. You can cruise to the Bahamas. You can cruise around Hawaii. If you can think it, there's probably a cruise there. Certainly the most popular cruising area is the Caribbean. The next thing that you want to think about is how long you are going for. The more days that you have, the farther that you can go and the more stops that you can have. It's very important to realize how many sea days you will have and how many stops you will have. If you have a much longer journey, such as the 9-day voyage on the far right, you can get all the way down to, say, Aruba and Bonaire, where in a 3-day cruise from Florida, there's no way that you can get there. So some people want to go to those more far-flung places. Just make sure you allow yourself enough time. And as I think I mentioned, 7 days is the most popular. If you're new to cruising, we do recommend that you start with something a little bit shorter just to make sure you like it. 4 days, 5 days tends to be a real good starting point. Cruise lines, there are so many. Some of them have 1 or 2 ships. Some of them have upwards of 20 and 30 ships. CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association, has over 55 lines that it represents, and that's not even all of it. If you look carefully at the screen, you might recognize some of them: Carnival and Viking and Virgin Voyages and Cunard, who represents the Queen Mary, Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, Disney. They're amazing. The big 3 are really Carnival, Norwegian, and Royal Caribbean. Those 3 together make up probably about half of the cruise ships. Some of the other really popular lines in this area are Celebrity, Princess, Holland America, Viking, MSC, Disney. Lines like Costa, etc., tend to be more popular in Europe. The ship, and this is probably the mistake that I made many years ago, was choosing the wrong ship. We had previously been on a larger royal ship and decided to go on a smaller ship and found that it did not have many of the features that we wanted. So at the top of the screen there is Royal Caribbean's Symphony of the Seas, which at this moment is the largest cruise ship. Next year, the Odyssey comes out, it will be slightly larger. It has, I don't know, 10 restaurants, 4 or 5 venues for music and entertainment, 15 different bars, you name it, it has it. Below that is the Carnival Sunrise, a middle-sized ship with about 3,000 passengers. You're going to have less space on the pool deck, less space in the restaurants, less numbers of restaurants. But by the same token, you're not dealing with 6,000 people. And if you're not great with walking distances, you're not going to have to go as far. At the bottom is one of the smallest ships. Again, ship referring to size. Once you get a little bit smaller than this one, it's called a boat, such as a yacht. Celebrity Flora holds 100 passengers, and it is amazing and goes down by the Galapagos. So again, you have very different things. The Celebrity Flora is not going to have multiple bars, and it's not going to have a slide into the pool or whatnot. It may not have a spa. Again, figure out what things you're looking for and then match that to the ship. The budget tends to be a big issue for most people. There are some people that simply look at budget, try to find the least expensive that they can, and then declare that cruising is not for them because they didn't get what they wanted. So make sure your budget is realistic. So, for example, you can do a 4-night cruise on the MSC Harmonia to the Bahamas in an inside cabin, meaning no windows, 2 people for $438. That's not too bad. And if you don't mind the lack of sunlight in your cabin, go for it. A very popular 7-night Royal Caribbean cruise, Western Caribbean on the Symphony. Again, 2 people, exact same week, $2,900. And that's about a fairly average cost for cruising right about now. A 7-night cruise on an amazing Disney ship in a balcony cabin, that would be just under $7,000. By the way, the sky is the limit on where you can go after that. Certainly, those smaller ships, the more luxurious ships, can run you well over what most people make in a year. And in the end, if you multiply the number of ships by the number of cruises, by the number of weeks, this can be incredibly confusing. I know it was for me, so I'm sure it is for everybody. If you need help, please call your favorite travel agent. We would love it to be kid travel, but if not, choose one that works for you. Keep in mind, if you look at carnival.com and you find yourself a $3,000 cruise, if you go through a travel agent, it's still a $3,000 cruise. It is not more expensive. We do have access to all of the exact same deals that you can get on the websites. Plus, we sometimes get exclusive deals, and sometimes we can throw in extras like onboard credit or champagne and strawberries. It's not on all cruises, but you would never pay more through a travel agent. So make sure that you are getting the most bang for your buck. We can help match you to the right ship, the right itinerary, and we can make sure that you are getting everything that you're paying for. You work way too hard for your money to have a disappointing vacation. We'll see you next week, next Sunday for our next installment. Thank you. Have a good night.